Alright, welcome back to We Need to Talk. It's time to chat about some of the Premier League's highest earners. Alright boys, I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling a little bit tired, but we're going to crack on. We're going to plough through it today because I saw on Twitter this week some of the highest earners' wages get revealed. And to say I was shocked would be an understatement. So what I've done today is I've tried my best. It's not easy because they've obviously not been officially released, to find each club's highest earner. Some of them I might be a little bit wrong on. I'm hoping I've found the right one for each club. And I'm going to rank them. 4 tiers coming your way today. Very simple ones. Underpaid. Worth it. Not worth it. Financial stinker. We're going in alphabetically then, and like I said at the top, it's not easy to find the highest wages at a club. For instance, at Arsenal, some reports claim it's Thomas Partey earning between £185,000 a week and £200,000 a week. Other reports claim that it's Alexandre Lacazette averaging somewhere between £150,000 and £190,000 per week. I've selected Thomas Partey just because his average reported wage was a little bit higher, okay? If it is Lacazette, don't shoot me. And I think you could plop Thomas Partey straight in the worth it column. Arsenal's wage structure seems pretty sound to have Partey as the top earner at 185. The drop is pretty substantial to the rest of the pack, but he is their best midfielder. He's a £50 million signing from Atletico Madrid. Without him, they look a totally different team, bereft of any sort of midfield dynamism, to be honest with you. So I think he's worth every penny. If this had been Aubameyang 3 weeks ago, we'd have been talking about financial howlers. Financial howlers. But it's not. It's Thomas Partey, and he's worth it. Next up, we've got Philippe Coutinho at Aston Villa. Now, this is also a little bit of a controversial one because I've included a loan player here. The reports are that Aston Villa are paying somewhere in the region of 50 to 60% of Philippe Coutinho's Barcelona salary, which would mean he's earning around £130,000 per week. I've also seen reports saying they're paying a lot less than that. Danny Ings would be the top earner without Philippe Coutinho on loan at about £125,000, but I've selected Coutinho because he's a more interesting talking point. Sorry. He's obviously gone off like a rocket ship, hasn't he? He was unbelievable against Leeds. How about the little turn? That ball through to Jacob Ramsey, who, by the way, it's hot, Jacob Ramsey. But Philippe Coutinho, I think for Aston Villa, it's 2 goals, 2 assists in 3 games, right? It also just elevates them. It makes the whole club feel like they're travelling in a new direction. So I think it is worth it for 6 months. I'm not sure I would be paying that for 4 years. If that was a 4-year contract on £130,000 at his age, I might be saying it's not worth it, just because they've got other quality in that role. But right now, 6 months, yeah, throw the money at him. Brentford is another tough one. I think this is probably Christian Eriksen, right? But I couldn't find a single official report stating how much he's going to be earning a season. I wonder whether he's on some sort of unique deal because of his fitness and that heart issue. Maybe it's a little bit more bonus related. So instead, I've gone for the man widely reported as their highest earner, their record transfer, Christophe Ajer. Now, they're paying him 35 grand a week, so it's not a huge wage, is it? So I think quite comfortably he's going to go in the worth it category. I think that was a really smart signing, and their defence looks a lot better with him in it. However, they do still have the 5th worst defensive record in the league. They've conceded 40 goals. Maybe some of those are a bit unlucky though, because by expected goals against, they've got the 9th best defence in the league. So I think Christophe Ajer is one of their best players. I think at 35 grand he's worth that. At Brighton, I also had problems finding the highest earner, but it seems to be Adam Lallana, earning around £90,000 a week, which according to some reports is around £35,000 a week more than the next highest earner. So he's quite far and away the best paid player in terms of wage structure, which surprised me. Because yes, he started 16 games in this sort of more reserved, deep-lying role. I really like to see him in there. And yes, one fact that really blew my mind, he's in the top 5% Europe-wide of touches on the ball per 90. He's extremely influential in this Brighton team. But I'm still unconvinced. You know, he's 32 now, and he hasn't signed a new deal since he arrived at Brighton. So this is the original deal they gave him to convince him to come down from Liverpool. I think he's playing extremely well this season. He's kind of hovering in between worth it and not worth it. But I think because of the wage differential down to the likes of Yves Bissouma, who are earning £30,000+ a week less than him, Lewis Dunk earning that much less than him, Lamptey earning that much less than him, I think it's not worth it. He's not their best player, so I don't think he should be their best earner. At Burnley, we've got Weghorst, haven't we? £70,000 a week, according to reports. That makes him the top earner by about £20,000 ahead of the likes of Ben Mee and James Tarkowski. And obviously, they've had to pay more to get him in January to convince him to come to Burnley. £13 million signing, absolutely obliterated United's backline, notably Harry Maguire, where I don't know what happened. He sent Harry Maguire back to Leicester with that turn, didn't he? Genuinely sensational at holding the ball up. Really, really good at working hard off it, pressing, charging keepers down, defenders down, midfielders down, flying into tackles. The guy does it all. 70 grand a week, that's an underpayment. No, it's not. It's worth it. It's worth it. If he keeps them up, he's worth it. Next up, we've got Romelu Lukaku at Chelsea. Obviously, their highest earner, having joined for a club record £98 million in the summer, and varying reports on how much he's earning. The Athletic are reporting somewhere between 325 and 450 grand a week, including bonuses. My goodness. And I don't think he's been worth it this season. I really like Romelu Lukaku, but I think he's struggling to fit in the Thomas Tuchel system. I'm not convinced Chelsea are better now with Lukaku than they were last year with, say, Havertz playing as a false 9. I think Havertz suits the system better. Romelu Lukaku is probably a better number 9. So is he worth 100 million, 450 grand a week? He scored 5 goals in, I think, 16 Premier League starts this season. So far, he's not been worth it. If he wins them another Champions League, then stick him in the worth it category. But he was bought in to compete for the title, and I don't know how much better they are with him in the team. So I think it's not worth it. At Crystal Palace, we've got Wilf Zaha, 130 grand a week. Now, that's probably because he's tried to leave so many times. They keep bumping him up. And this is a difficult one, I think. Because on the one hand, and on his day, he is the best player in this Palace team. He can beat 3 men at the drop of a hat, whip it top bins like we saw against Norwich to completely change a game. But on the other hand, as much as I've loved watching Crystal Palace this season, they are behind Leicester in the league. Leicester have 2 games in hand on them. We've talked about Leicester having a dreadful season this year. They've had 10 draws, and I know that Patrick Vieira's freshened the squad up, new faces, they have improved, but maybe slightly underwhelming in terms of actual points. Their underlying numbers are exceptional, and the thing I will say about Zaha is I feel like with Elise there, with Eze there, with Edouard there, with Conor Gallagher there, maybe he's not as crucial to this team as he once was. I'm still going to put him in worth it, but just. At Everton, Yerry Mina is the top earner on £120,000 a week, according to reports. And obviously, he's in that position because to convince him to sign from Barcelona, they had to pay him a load of money, didn't they? However, look, first and foremost, he's their best defender when he's fit. He is their best centre-back when he's fit. When he's fit, he's never fit. He's missed 28 games in the last 18 months. He has continued sustained injury problems. And the worst thing about this situation feels like to me, I mean, I don't know, Everton fans, let me know, but whenever he goes away on international duty for Colombia, he's fit, blah, 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 and then he comes back and he's injured. Away on international duty, fit, comes back, he's injured. For me, because of the injury problems, he's just not worth it. If he was injury-free, he'd be right in amongst the worth it category. Let's go to Leeds then, and according to some reports, it's Rafinha. According to other reports, it's not, but I'm going to go with Rafinha at £65,000 a week. This feels like the first name in the underpaid category. They're obviously trying to organise a new contract for him to convince him to stay. If I was Rafinha, I wouldn't be signing it. I think I would be looking to leave in the summer and join a Champions League level side. I think it's 10 goal involvements in 20 games this season. Similar sort of numbers last season, averaging about a goal or assist every other game. One of the most fun players in the entire league to watch. Comfortably leads his best player. Doing really well for the Brazilian national team now as well. I think he has to be in the underpaid category at 65 grand a week. Leicester have got Jamie Vardy. He's got 9 goals in 15 starts this season, by the way. Not bad for a 35-year-old. And he's still incredibly influential around the dressing room. You've seen with his absence, the drop-off has been pretty stark for Leicester nearly every time he's got injured. Not only this season, but over the course of the last couple of seasons. He's still one of the best predatory strikers in the league, isn't he? He is worth 130 grand a week. And he has definitely been worth that for the past couple of seasons. But he is 35 now. I think the next contract he signs, he needs to see a significant wage decrease. And there needs to be a plan of integrating Patson Daka into his role. Because he's so relied upon, it's going to hurt Leicester in the long term. Virgil van Dijk, we don't really need to chat too much about the best centre-back in the world, do we? So we'll just stick him in worth it at 220 grand a week. That feels like a bargain. Kevin De Bruyne is Manchester City's top earner. Again, reports vary, somewhere between £385,000 and £420,000 a week. So one of the highest paid players in the Premier League, alongside Romelu Lukaku and another gentleman living in Manchester that we're going to talk about. But I mean, look at these numbers, man. He's in the top 1 percentile of pretty much every creative stat, every passing stat in world football over the last year, as he has been since he joined Manchester City, pretty much. What a footballer. I know he's had injury problems this season, but let's have it absolutely right. Kevin De Bruyne is worth every penny of 385k a week. Let's do him then. The top earner in the entire league, with reports of his wage varying between £480,000 and £550,000 a week. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. And Ronaldo is having a good season in terms of goal-scoring numbers. He's going at 1 in 2 in the Premier League. I think it's 8 in 16. He's going at better than a goal a game in the Champions League, 6 in 5. And of course, many of those goals were match-defining moments that took Manchester United through a really poor group stage pretty much by himself. However, Ronaldo was brought in to take Manchester United from second in the league, where they finished last year under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to competing for the Premier League title. I know it's not his fault entirely, it's a collective failing, but United are nowhere near that level. They're competing for the top 4, and I think there have been large parts of the season where Ronaldo has struggled to integrate himself into the way this side want to play football under Rangnick, and previously under Ole, when it just was all going wrong. So yes, his goal scoring numbers might be superb, but I think for 500-ish grand a week, United were expecting a little bit more, and he was probably expecting a little bit more from Man United. I don't think this deal has quite worked perfectly. It's not a failure, but it's not been perfect, and it had to be perfect to justify wages like that on a 37-year-old, so it's not been worth it. Bruno Gimeresche is up next, 120 grand a week. We just haven't seen enough of him, so I can't really comment. I'm just going to whack him in the worth it column for now. Yeah, I can't really do much else. Now at Norwich, we've got Bryan Williams. Of course, Norwich are paying his full salary, according to some reports, and that's estimated to be about £65,000 a week, which feels an awful lot of money to me. I know that he won Norwich's Player of the Month last month, and he had a really good January in a reinvigorated Norwich side under a brilliant coach in Dean Smith. He looks so much more comfortable playing in that role now. I mean, they have had a good January, but 65 grand a week, I don't think over the course of the season has been worth it. January was worth 65 grand a week. However, 6 months of it haven't been. So I think it's just about not worth it. Again, if he keeps them up, somehow miracles do happen, he'll be in the worth it. But right now, not for me. Next we go to Southampton, where we have James Ward-Prowse as the highest earner. He signed that new deal in the summer to take over the previous highest earner, which was Theo Walcott, earning 75 grand a week. And get this, he took a 50% wage cut coming from Everton to Southampton. That means Everton were paying Walcott 150 grand a week. What? But let's talk about James Ward-Prowse, the best dead ball taker in the world, bar none. I don't care what you say. 10 goal involvements in 21 games from central midfield, works harder than anybody else on the pitch. He's Ralph Hasenhüttl's wet dream. 100 grand a week he's earning, and I think he's worth every penny to Southampton because the squad at Southampton is pretty mediocre in terms of individual quality. Hasenhüttl has somehow managed to galvanise a real group philosophy out of them, and I think they're more than the sum of their parts. As the win against Tottenham proved to everyone when James Ward-Prowse also got 2 assists, whipping balls into the box, brilliant delivery. Yeah, he's just worth that much for me. Harry Kane is on 200 grand a week, and he's definitely worth that to Tottenham Hotspur. Easily their best player. I think he's still the best striker in the Premier League. He had a really slow start to the season. There's no denying that. It's been a poor season by Harry Kane standards, but he's got 7 goal involvements in his last 10 games. Looks like he's finally getting back to full fitness, finally getting into the right place mentally under Antonio Conte. Just looks dangerous now, doesn't he? Start of the season, you didn't feel like there was any danger surrounding Harry Kane. Now when he gets in positions over the last 6 weeks, you think, oh, shit, this is it in the back of the net from all angles. What a finisher. 200 grand a week. No problem. Next up, we've got Moussa Soko, 32 years old now, earning a reported £80,000 a week. 80k! That feels like an awful lot of money for a relegation-threatened side when you look at the likes of Norwich's, Brentford's top earner, even, Brighton's top earner, being Adam Lallana on 90-odd grand a week. They're way higher in terms of ceiling in the squad. Adam Lallana is playing much better football than Moussa Sissoko. I think that's an overpayment. I think that surprised me, that wage. 80 grand for Sissoko. I know he started 20 games, but I'm not sure. At West Ham, again, I really struggled to find the highest earner of West Ham. According to some reports, they're paying 100% of Areola's wage this season, which would be £140,000 a week. And he started 1 Premier League game? Could we have a financial howler? I mean, technically, yeah. 140 grand a week for 1 Premier League start. I know that he's a quality sort of backup to Fabianski. He absolutely is. But I think that's a financial howler. I think you can get solid to fine backup goalkeepers. Obviously, Areola is an exceptional one, but solid to fine backup goalkeepers for a cut price, £140,000 a week. What? If they had signed him with the intention to buy him permanent, and they have that £12 million option to buy, of course, don't they? Which they might well trigger, and he might be in the long term worth £140,000 a week. But this season, 140 grand for 1 Premier League start, I don't get it. West Ham fans, if you can explain to me why Areola was bought in at that figure, I'm happy to be proved wrong. Maybe you've already got a deal agreed or something like that in the long term. But if it's just a straight seasonal loan for that much in wages, I think it's a bit of a howler. Especially when you consider they needed money for forwards and couldn't get a striker through the door. If that £140,000 a week could have been added to a striker's pot, would that have helped? I don't know. On the face of it, it feels like a howler, but West Ham fans, let me know if I've had a howler there. I might well have. At Wolves, we've got Trinquao, a little bit like Areola here. He is earning an awful lot on loan from Barcelona, where they're apparently paying 100% of his £135,000 a week wage. There's also a clause in the contract I read yesterday that if he doesn't get bought permanently, they owe Barcelona £6 million, which would be a bit of a surprise. I can see some little dealings happening here, though. Rumblings already of maybe a trade between Traore and Trinquao. Trinquao coming back on a permanent deal with no fee to Wolves. Traore going to Barcelona with no fee over there. I could see some sort of mysterious things happening there. But look, 17 Premier League games this season, no goals, no assists, 135 grand a week. I do think he's a good player, and it does take time to develop in the Premier League when you're that young. It feels like he needs to grow into his body a little bit more. He's a little bit slight, and he obviously is trying to get up to speed with the intensity and physicality of the Premier League. So not worth it at the moment, but I think in the long term, if they can agree a slight wage decrease to bring him in line with the rest of the squad, it will be worth it. Alright, so that was my tier list of the Premier League's highest earner at each club. I feel like it's not brilliant. I feel like it's not brilliant, and I feel like I'm going to get some stick for putting Ronaldo in not worth it. But, you know, opinions are opinions. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.